Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Dim and Kedge, and again for another episode. I believe we're in episode 8, if I'm not mistaken. I wanted to really quickly say, yeah, we Kedge and I have lost track, but I wanted to quickly say to everyone watching, uh, we have received some really, really sweet feedback from p people who have been listening to the show, and telling us that they've been getting value out of the chats or just enjoying the chats. So, from with all my heart, yeah, thank you so much for listening along, for following along, for sharing with your friends. And the last thing I want to say is that if at any time you want us to talk about a particular topic or ask a certain question, or answer a certain question rather, please feel free to get in contact with us in whatever way, whether it's a comment in the YouTube, it's a comment on Spotify, it's an Instagram DM, it's a LinkedIn DM. Reach out to us. Like we would definitely, I can't speak for Kedge, but I'm pretty sure that we would be more than happy to hear from you. And yeah, it brought great joy to both of us to hear that you guys have been enjoying the show so far. So thank you to the listeners, and hello to you, Kedge.
Nah, hey, did not. Thanks. Yeah, no, I definitely had some just personal feedback. Just talking to some random people, and I would never even expected that they were even listening along, and then just had some really good, nice sound bites that they were referencing specifically. Yeah, and I was just thinking as well, like because I think sometimes you got those quote unquote like celebrities, that are so distant from who we are, and we watch them and we take their like guidance as like gospel, and we're like, oh, I'm gonna go do this. Alex Hormozy said this, and or whatever. But people like me and you, I feel like for the everyday person or everyday or people like us, we're living a much closer life to what they are, and I feel like there's stuff that we can learn from them, and we can share as well. And I feel like sometimes we're guilty of not taking advice or guidance from people closest to us, who are living, and we know the kind of lives they're living, and sometimes we kind of glorify these other people out there. And so yeah, man, I think there's an audience out there that I think will really resonate with the thing already are, and will continue to resonate with the things we talk about.
That's good, man. Amen. And where we were starting, Kedge and I, everyone, like we were actually just chatting before we hit record. One of the things we were talking about was I think the sleep deprivation is setting in for you, Kedge. How's
Yeah,
yours?
it's really, yeah, as in, yeah, definitely felt it the whole day today. I had like I think a week ago or something, I had my first like proper like zombie day where like the whole day I just felt like I never woke up. And that's part
In
of
context, if it's your first time to the show, everyone, Kedge just had a baby.
Yeah. Well, I didn't deliver the baby myself, but yeah, I didn't. But yes, but yeah. So we're 5 weeks in now. So yeah, like overall it's been good, and that was just that one day, and just had a long sleep and kind of came back to normal. But yeah, today once again, just juggling life and baby and work and everything else that comes with life. Just feeling a little bit. And it's also okay. Like that's kind of part of it. I think those are some of the things maybe that, these other, like as we kind of touched to these podcasts that are distant probably don't even touch on. It's just more relatable. We're living like very normal lives and just trying to build the best life that we can with what we've got. And yeah, man, so we can talk to that. But you were saying something similar as well,
Can I
Dim. Oh,
speak
sorry.
quickly on that, Kedge?
Yeah.
For everyone listening, I actually would say this is such a completely overrated, yet such a beautifully spiritual concept. What Kedge is saying, and it's if anyone can guess what it is, it's acceptance. That's what he just said. It's acceptance. It's like I'm tired and I'm okay with that. Like, man,
Yeah.
you get so fucking far by just actually instead of building up all this internal resistance to getting things perfect or X, Y, or Z, actually if you just have acceptance that it's okay, it allows you to just move on, you know?
Yeah, for sure. There's another way that I say that I resonate that may helps me resonate with it as well is like I've said it a few times this week, but it's like choose your hard, like as in like what I mean by that is like, a lot of these things that I'm saying I'm tired of, like I've chosen that life and I've wanted that life, and so a certain degree I'm grateful for the good that comes with it, but everything has a trade-off, right? And but working in corporate can be hard, being broke is hard, being an entrepreneur is hard, but having a child is hard. but we get to choose our hard, or some people don't have a choice, and I appreciate that. But to a certain degree, we're choosing the hard that we want. So yeah, like to a certain degree, I don't I'm not as aggressive. I don't speak as aggressively as you do sometimes, Jim. But like sometimes it's like, yeah, just like get over it and just accept it. You're choosing this life, so just do what's got to be done. Like why are you sitting there complaining about it? So
Yeah, it's a real big. By the way, I'm just getting some feedback behind me. Is my audio coming through okay? Can I just check?
crystal clear. Yeah, can't hear anything.
Great, great. I think, for everyone listening, this is just like such a foundational stage that God bless so many people are stuck in. And that's why when you go on this journey of personal development, uh, you really go up to the top 5% into the top 1%, and it's for real basic shit in my view. Like, for example, one being just taking responsibility. Just that's in my view, that's what Kedge is talking about, just taking responsibility,
Mm.
because everything has benefits and drawbacks. And instead of wasting your beautiful energy hating other people because you think that they have it better than you, what a waste of energy. What a waste of energy. And it's a victim mentality, and it usually is born because you are blind to the fact that you are benefiting from getting to do some of the things that they like, getting to not do some of the things that they are doing. So sometimes it is easier to be lazy, to not having those difficult conversations, to staying in the devil that to staying in your comfort zone, as terrible as our comfort zone is. Sometimes it's just easier to be with the devil that than do what they did, which is like really get out there and get uncomfortable and do something that will potentially cost them their social image or whatever, because they're like, I'm willing to do what it takes to change my situation. The truth is, as J. Cole said, J. Cole has this beautiful song called Love Yours. And it's such a beautiful song. And in the song Love Yours, he's basically saying, I think there's this gorgeous line. He goes, um, there's always going to be someone that's wearing clothes that are fresher than those you rock. There's always going to be a nicer house. There's always going to be a hotter girl out there on the tours, but you ain't never going to be happy until you love yours. And it's just like in my view, he's just saying, man, listen, like, every path has benefits and drawbacks. And really, to me, richness, this podcast is called Namaste Rich. For me, rich people are good at creating value. That's what rich people do. Rich people have revenue generating assets, meaning that they have found a way to extract value out of what they have. So to me, it's not about what you've got, it's about what you make of what you've got. Meaning, like, with what you've got, how good are you at appreciating the value? And that basically means you stop being a victim about shit and stop looking at all the drawbacks of your shit and all the benefits of someone else's shit, and realizing that everyone's got benefits and drawbacks no matter what they choose. So how can you use the benefits that you've got to make the most of it? And no BS. Sorry, Kedge, I don't know if I'm going on a little side
No, no,
tangent.
finish. No,
Yeah.
no, keep going. Yeah.
Bro, I remember, like, where for everyone listening, like, this genuinely made me a lot of money, like what we're talking about. Like, because I was stuck doing like I believe under $4,000 a month. I was like stuck in my business. And I remember John Demartini, I was sitting with John Demartini, and he, and he goes, so Dim, what are you comparing your life to against that you think is better? And I just said to him, man, if I was just making $16,000 a month, like consistently, that would be way better than what I've got. And then what he goes is, Dim, if someone's making 16 grand a month, you've got to appreciate that there's drawbacks to that situation and there's benefits to yours. And when he first said this, I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I don't understand what possible drawbacks are there to making 16 grand a month. Because I can see the drawbacks to making 4 grand a month in Sydney, you know. And he goes, no, Dim, I want you to find the drawbacks. If you are actually making 16 grand a month, actually go and appreciate the duality of that situation. I know you're just looking at the benefits, but what about the drawbacks? Because, by the way, everyone listening, depression is the delta. Like, so depression is the delta between your current situation and your fantasy situation. So if you feel depressed, it's because, and I'm not making you feel bad. I don't want you to feel bad about this. I just love you, so I want you to have this education. If you feel depressed, it's because you have a fantasy about what you want life to be, or you think that your life would have been better if X, Y, Z. So basically, you've got that on one side, and effectively, that fantasy or that wish of what you believe life would be, you have associated, you're looking at all the plus, plus, plus of that version of life. And when you're looking at your version of life, you're looking at all the minus, minus, minus. You're looking at all the drawbacks of your current version of life. And the bigger the delta, the more you believe your fantasy of how life could have been or should have been, the more you have associated just pluses to that and not looked at the minuses to that, versus the more you've associated more negatives to your current situation and not looked at the positives, the more you've done that, the bigger the depression. Like mathematically, that's what the depression is. It's the delta between your fantasy of what things should be like versus what they're actually like. And if you want to collapse the depression, what you all you want to do, man, it's actually very beautiful. It's about looking at your fantasy and genuinely thinking, fuck, if I actually lived that life, what would have been the drawbacks to me if I was actually living that life? And it helps you ground yourself and go, fuck.
Mm.
And in my situation, that's 16 grand a year. Ked, you interrupt me whenever you need, man. Like in my
No,
situation,
as in, yeah, no, as in, I think you're probably going to say it. I was going to ask the specific question. So that what
yeah,
is the, yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
no, so that all that, bro, I fully resonate. And, but that's big reason of where I am the way I am is like, I feel like I've really embodied that teaching is like that one teaching. And so I'm trying to figure out how to ask questions to get more out of it so people can understand. But maybe like a real life example, like so you mentioned the 4 grand, the 16 grand. So yeah, like even like for the for the layman, like yeah, obviously 16 grand is better. So what is the drawback? Like so
Bro, you know what? So I sat there asking myself that same question. What could be the possible drawbacks? And then I really thought about, okay, well, who do I know who's actually making 16 grand? And I thought about them and I thought about their life. And I was like, man, this person, they, I guess they were a little bit more, this is the honest truth of when I was unpacking this. I'm like, okay, they're a little bit more highly strung. Like they're really like it's borderline, they're tired all the time. They're under the pump a lot. They have to be on a lot. I don't think their relationships are that good. Like the guy I was thinking about, he wasn't actually in a relationship because he's that busy. Furthermore, the level of like he has to be on a lot more basically because he's dealing with a higher volume of people. And I'm like, he probably doesn't get, he's probably struggling to be present, because he's a bit more highly strung. And I think the thing that really got me was I'm like, fuck the legal risk to that guy because of
mm,
the volume, he's got higher volume. He's got high, I see it. He has more hate comments and he has more people threatening to take legal action against him just because
mm,
of the volume. You have that shit. And I remember, especially for me personally, when I hit the legal thing, I was like, wow, like, okay, I I'm actually being disrespectful to this guy by thinking that he has a better life than me because it's disrespecting the challenges that he has to deal with. And the
mm,
truth is, that when I compared that actually to my situation at that time, I had such a sweet, 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 lovely, present bonding time with my ex-fiance. We were together during that time. It was a lot more presence, a lot more free time, a lot more just like enjoyment, and the pace was slower. I actually like really reflect on that time now,
mm.
and I was like, man, the pace was just slower and more present and less pressure in a lot of ways. And
But
I go on, Ketch.
sorry, so because I sense where this is going and it makes sense. So obviously now you've surpassed that number and making more than that now. So do you feel like you've got a better life?
It's a great question, man. It's a great question. It's just benefits and drawbacks, isn't it, man?
Yeah,
Because in a
but
way,
yeah.
go on, Catch.
No, no, sorry. As in, you know what? Finish before I talk. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Answer that
man,
question.
Simply, like, at the end of the day, like, I believe in the specific topic of money. Um, if you don't have enough to cover your basic expenses, it's not a nice, it doesn't feel great. You know,
Mm,
you need to have enough to cover, um, you need to have enough to cover your basic expenses. Otherwise, but then at a certain point beyond that, a lot of people will say you start to get kind of diminishing returns. But I think the real heartfelt way to answer that question, Kedge, is like I think I think it's always going to come down to appreciate your ability to appreciate what you have.
mm,
Because I do feel like I live a really, I'm incredibly blessed and I really feel grateful and fulfilled. I'm being very
mm,
honest about the life I'm living right now. But I feel like part of the reason I feel that way, man, is because I'm not desperately trying to compare myself to, oh, fuck,
mm,
if I was making 80
mm,
grand consistently a month,
mm,
my life would be
mm,
like then I would be doing the same thing that I was doing back then, you
mm.
know?
Yeah.
So I feel like a big reason I have the fuel to do numbers well beyond the 16 grand a month now is because the fuel is the gratitude, is the fuel
Mm,
is the appreciation of what you have. Furthermore, you appreciating what you have allows you to put more present energy and focus into what you have, because what you have is what you have to use to to
mm,
to make the next level anyway. So you're it's about where your focus goes, so the appreciation allows you to put the focus in the right place. Whereas if you're just focusing on what you don't have, that's just a real big waste of energy because you're just firing it out somewhere which is not real, as opposed to just putting it where it's actually real and where you can realize opportunity. If you would, I don't know what you'd say to that, Kedge.
No, no, mate, no. As in, I was more just asking the question just to help you elaborate because for me, man, I'm on the same page, bro. Fully relate, and that's I'm on the same journey, man.
Oh,
So,
bro.
um, man, as in, yeah, because I know normally we don't come planned, but in my head, because I know we've spoken a little bit about what I do and all that kind of stuff, and we've loosely talked about what you do, and it will be a little bit of a segue from what you've spoken about. But keen to ask, obviously all the stuff that you're kind of referring to and talking to, this effectively comes out of the work that you do, the inner work that you do with clients and things like that. And I've been on, I think, 4 or 5 different times with you in terms of personally for myself, and I've come and facilitated at least 2 or 3 times, I think. So
Yeah.
been there a fair few. So I've seen it, I've seen it evolve as well myself. So happy to chime in and share my thoughts too. But I was going to, yeah, just ask like just to more share with the listeners, and I know like there'll be listeners that are already done your work, but there'll be a lot of people that may not know exactly what you do. Yeah, share a little bit about what you do, how it started, what it used to look like, what it looks like now, why it changed. It's kind of yeah, that's just the story, I guess. Yeah.
That's huge, man. That's huge.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get through it in the time we have, but let's
That's it.
let's try and see how much we can get done.
Oh man, for everyone listening, uh, I think the easiest way to put what I do, so without getting presumptuous, when the boys meaning the boys age usually 28 and above, usually the average range of boys that I get are around my age, I'm 37 now. So give or take 10 years is usually the average I get. When the boys go through hard times and enough setbacks in life and they start to feel like they're stagnant or just not showing up at their best for usually a long enough time, that's when they come and see me, because they're like, I don't really understand why I know I can do a lot better, but I don't really understand why I'm not. I have some ideas as to why I'm not, but regardless, I'm not, and I need some help. Usually, there's something called levels of awareness. The levels of awareness of the boys that come to me, like in general, boys are not that into personal development. And a lot of the guys that have come to me, they may have gone to psychologists or therapists in the past, but they haven't really found the answer that they're looking for. And so then they come to me, and usually they come to me, man, because they perceive me as someone who is relatable, because I am, like I'm one of the boys myself, right? And so what we do in a nutshell, is that what you asked? Is that what
Yeah,
I'm getting?
let's start with that. What, as
Yeah.
in, I know it's hard to put into a few words because I know what it involves, but yeah, try and put it into a few sentences. Yeah.
Well, I can say this, man, and for everyone listening, you don't have to take it from me. If you look at Harvard in 2012, 2019, 2021, they found the exact same conclusion every single time when they studied how to help men specifically be their best version. It's three factors. Number one is purpose. Number two is inner alignment, which I can speak to. And number three is community or tribe, basically. And so, I don't think it takes a genius to figure that out, to be honest. Like usually when you hear it, it actually does resonate pretty, um, pretty easily. Uh, for me, man, like I have for context, everyone, like I've done this for 8 years full time, spent about 15,000 hours so far doing it, worked with hundreds and hundreds of guys. I can tell you from my own personal experience of having to walk, I was my first client, right? So I had to walk myself through this journey first, and then I've walked hundreds and hundreds of others, and then I've also done 250 grand worth of study in different organizations, including at Brown University, which is an Ivy League school, the thesis is all the same. These are the three factors that help people, right? And that's what we do in a nutshell. Whether they're doing a 8 week program, a 12 week program, or they've just continued on with me, we always make sure that these three factors are included. So if I was to just go through them, number one, what does purpose mean? Purpose mean what purpose really means, man, is like something that you're doing something with your life that in your heart and soul, it gives you energy. You want to do it. You don't need motivation. You don't need discipline. It's consistency. A lot of the boys, when they come to me, they're struggling with self-doubt, negative self-talk. They feel stagnant. They're struggling to get going. They think that their issues are discipline, and they don't know why they're not consistent. Kej, you may want to speak to any of this. Please interrupt me at any time.
Yeah.
Um, but what you do find is when you can understand what your actual sense of purpose is, and what I have found is that your purpose comes from your values. So if you can, it's like my step one in my methodology is know yourself, and that's one of the on the Oracle of Delphi in Greece, which is 3,000 years old. That's one of the three things that are written across the Oracle of Delphi. Know yourself, know thyself, right? Why?
Jump in.
Because yeah, please, Mitch. Yeah,
Oh, sorry, man. I'm just jumping in because there's like so much, there's
I
so many
appreciate
little
it.
points.
Yeah.
Um, because obviously what you're saying sounds, when you say it like that, sounds easy. Go find your purpose, right? And then if you live in line with your purpose, life's good. Like easy, things are in flow. How hard is it to truly find your purpose? Like obviously it sounds like when you say it like that, cool. But to truly unpack it, to truly figure out what your real values are, to make sure you're living in alignment with them and doing that, figuring it out. And it ranges from person to person, but quote unquote, I'm just gonna ask a very simple question. Is it hard to figure out?
Uh, well, no. If you if you if you know the right process and you know the right way to do it, then no. But here's why it can be hard. Let me just give a real answer to this question. Why it can be hard is because all of this noise, insane levels of noise in our own mind, our own self-doubts. Often we are our own worst enemy. It can be our own self-doubt, our own internal noise. It can be the noise all around us. Those are the things that can make it hard. But the answer, in the Bible, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." The reason being is because when you strip away the noise and you can just get back to yourself and back to your sense of heart, you can feel your intuition speaking to you and whispering and slowly guiding you. That's your inner voice. That is even beyond any process I can give anyone. Obviously I'm a facilitator, so I'm trying to give them multiple processes to help them. But I'm a no one compared to the force of I'm an absolute infinitesimal no one compared to the force of Mother Nature and life and the divine spark that created this whole thing. So it's a It's be still and know that I am God. But the way that we do it, Kedge, if yeah, so the way that we do it is, if you want to know your purpose, love is the answer, and love creates strength. And love over time and strength over time is what looks like your purpose. And here's what I mean by that. There's things in your life which you naturally get energy at the thought of doing. If you listen to Kedge wanting to talk about property, you hear his voice increase in volume. You hear his confidence go up, his certainty goes up. He can just speak forever about it. Because you can tell a mile away that Kedge has loved property and wealth building for so long. And that's exactly why he's probably the perfect person to work with if you want to help getting property. Even I'm doing that, right? Because this person has lived and breathed that shit. It's not effort for them, so naturally, because they love it, they become an expert in that area. And so what we do, Kedge, is we have a set, which you're exposed to, obviously. We have a set of 14 questions that look at someone's life from what they fill their time with, what they fill their space with, what they do with their energy, what they tend to gravitate towards, time, space, energy, gravity, what they think about, what they speak about, what they spend money on. Because it's pretty easy to start to see the trends. If you're looking for the little clues in the different areas of their life, you can start to see the trends of, wow, okay, this person actually definitely gravitate towards these things more uniquely more. And once you've got that, then you can help them get to know more about why they like those specific things. So, for example, you and your business partner may both love property. It's true, but the reasons he likes property may be slightly different from the reasons you like property, which is beautiful because the strength is in our diversity. So that's what it is, man. It's about understanding what and why specifically do we like this thing,
Mm.
because the more and more you can refine that, the more you're finding what is unique about you. And then it's easy to create goals about that stuff because you like it
Can I
anyway.
ask a question on that?
Please, please.
Um, so so cool. You're naturally gravitating to these certain things. How do you know you're not gravitating? Because are you gravitating to them because that's naturally deep down who you are, or are you gravitating to them because of your conditioning that needs to be stripped away, and then therefore and then as soon as you strip away the conditioning, you start gravitating towards different things. Like
That's a great
how do
question.
you how do you know?
You will naturally over time, usually when you're having a discussion like this about your values, you you will have got to a point where you will have lived out probably lesser purposes or lesser conditions, which were based more on voids and conditioning. Having
Hmm.
said that, man, in my experience, like for example, to use the point of conditioning, both, I mean, I grew up with my younger sister, right? She's 4 years younger. We grew up fucking very poor, right? Like I have memories. I think I've shared this in another episode, but I have memories of walking insanely long home from school with my mum in the beating hot sun because we didn't have a car. And my sister was there the whole time, right? Right? And but the thing is, she didn't really perceive a void in wealth.
Hmm.
She didn't. I did. Even though she was there, she just didn't perceive that was that much an issue. It just didn't bother her that much, but it bothered me, right? But we both went through that. What bothered my sister more was she felt like she didn't really have a companion. That's what really bothered her because I think I had a little companion, but she never had a little companion. So she gravitated towards animals and pets, and she really loves animals and she's a veterinarian now. So for her, the void that she felt was a lack of a companion. And it led to her really loving animals, and
Hmm.
hence she's a vet. Whereas with me, the void was wealth. So we
Hmm.
both went through the same thing, but we perceived different voids.
Hmm.
Pretty nuts.
It is nuts. And question once again to tell you about Alex, this is
Ah,
my way of always learning.
I love you,
I
man.
asked. No, no. So, all right. So you had this. So, for example, you have a void. So let's use you as an example, and a lot of similar people, and to me a certain degree as well. Like, cool, void in money, so therefore we're gravitating towards money. Is it almost like if we kind of what I'm trying to say is it I don't know, not wrong is the right word, but do we need to kind of realign ourselves? Have we gone too far because we perceive this void, which may not, and then we've gone too far, we're gravitating too far in that direction because of the void, and we need to bring ourselves back to alignment, kind of thing? Is that is
The
you
easiest way to discern that
yeah,
is you can just ask yourself the question, what do I like this?
you sure?
Right? And you will know when you're answering the question, if you're answering it from a place of like deep pain and
Mm,
burnout, and you can even see your energy is like, I did it. You can see it in your language. You're like, I have to, I have to, I have
mm,
to. I have to, I got to, I owe this, I need to. Like,
mm,
that's a different energy from, I don't know, man. I just love it. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I just love it.
mm.
I don't know. Because love is beyond our mind, you know? Yeah.
It's good, bro. Bro, I like, because for me, this is all very felt, but I can't put it into words like you do. So, like, that's good. I actually didn't know what you were going to say. That's good. That's good. I like that. Um,
That's
cool, bro.
good.
No, awesome, man. And then, yes, there's a. Do you want to go through the other two steps? Because I got a couple of questions too, like
No,
related, but
I think people are getting value more out of your questions, man, than me just
yeah.
talking, I reckon.
Cool. So I'm keen because obviously the journey is 8 years. You've been doing this, done multiple retreats. I'm kind of keen to hear your learnings along the. Maybe a question. What's your biggest? I'm gonna call it the language biggest mistake, or where you used to do things that you've learned from that you no longer do, and that you have now changed something. What's an example of that?
Dude, for me personally, and I will just say, okay, I want to say two things, if I may.
Yeah.
Number one, everyone listening, here's the issue with advice that no one is going to tell you, right? The issue with advice is when people give advice, they are speaking from their own voids and their own weaknesses. So, what they will so fucking confidently tell you as the one thing, the one secret, the one best piece of advice, it's bullshit. It's just good for them because they struggled with equal and opposite weaknesses. So, for example, if you were to ask Kedge some advice, Kedge's advice probably won't be centric around, for example, people skills. I reckon I'd be willing to bet his best piece of advice won't be around people skills. Why? Because Kedge naturally has good people skills, but I'm sure there are things that Kedge was not so good at, and therefore the best piece of advice that really helped him break through was in that area. So the first thing I'd say, I feel like that's even more valuable for me to say to anyone. Like, like people are just speaking from their voids and their weaknesses. So their perception of what helps is based on that. So by the way, if you want to find a good mentor, like I've heard Ked say this as well, which I agree, is find a mentor who you feel is quite similar to you in your strengths and weaknesses. Because then the things that they are going to be special at speaking to you about are usually about the things that are similar shared weaknesses and they've overcome them, so they're going to be really good at giving you advice around that. I'm naturally very present, and I'm not very technically minded. I would say naturally, like I'm more kinesthetic and felt, like I think Kedge is as well. And so, like, you mean from a business partner perspective, you ideally want someone who can be a complementary opposite from that. You still want enough shared values and stuff that they complement each other, but you also want them to fill in your gaps. So, in terms of the best piece of advice, though, that I would give, it's don't put people on a pedestal. Is the best piece of advice, because I think for me, I can't speak for Kedge. I think Kedge is more astute at this than me, but for me, I feel like I'm a pretty honest person. And I think as a result, I've projected my honesty onto others. So when I see other motherfuckers speaking really confidently online or whatever, it makes me think, oh, they know what they're talking about. And so
Mhm.
then I've given my money and my trust to those people. And then they sell you the world, but then when you buy, you just get this little atlas. or that thing, and it's just like, and I think I really, really tragically got burnt a lot by people like that early on,
Hmm.
until I learned what I'm sharing now, for me personally.
Yeah, man, and man, I can just put my thing. For me, that's probably one of the biggest things. Yeah, I got out of all the work as well because I think I used to put too many people, so many people on a pedestal, and I had an authority complex because just naturally people that were perceived to be there, and yeah, and I think I've said this in previous episodes as well, but the minute I've gotten closer to these people and seen them and see the way they live their lives, and this links back to what you were saying at the start. I've seen all the drawbacks in their lives, and it's like, man, that is not an honest. And even I know one of the things that you do and part of the retreats is like vision boards and character boards and those kinds of things. Man, my first time I did it, there was all celebrities all over it. I've got mine over there if I grab it, but not one celebrity. It's just traits now. Like if I was probably only one, which is Tom Bilyeu, but I actually just think he's one of the most grounded guys. But it's just like, but there's no celebrities on here at all. Like it's just like
Oh, that's
it's
so
all just traits and type
wow.
of life I want to live and things that it reminds me of. And once again, don't yet. But first time I did it, it was like, yeah, I don't know, there was celebrities. At the time, I can't remember. At the time, it was, I don't know, Will Smith and there's a guy named Jay Shetty and Tony Robbins and Vishen Lakhiani and all the people at that time. But bro, I don't want any of their lives. Like I want the best version of myself, and there's traits in there that I know that I need to work on and focus on and live. And that's so what you just said there, arguably probably is for me as well the most important thing. So
Bless, man. And
yeah.
what would you reckon is the biggest piece of advice that's really like weighed through for you? Or if you could say your top three, what would your top three be?
Oof. It's all gonna be from you, man. But let's have a look. So that'll be one of them. And it's funny, I almost because even on your and I kind
That
of
being
self
one of them being like, don't put people on pedestals, is that the
don't put it on a pedestal yet, because even on your retreats and and I'm sure there's a purpose for it, but for me, even the affirmations, like some of the affirmations is like, and then there's like you kind of say, execute like a machine, like whatever, like I think it was like Batman or whatever. But for me, I removed that last bit, because it's like I don't want to put those people on a thing. So I feel like that's like something that's deeply kind of resonate and makes a big difference because once again, it doesn't need to be like that. But yeah, I'm sure it serves a purpose. Um,
Can I say the advanced reason behind why that is what it is? You
Tell
know,
me.
because if you were to look at, because I still give the boys to this day my old affirmations as a template, at the thing.
Yeah.
And my bro, the reason is like, even though when I look at them now, I'm like, man, this is like way too harsh and whatever for me, right?
Yeah.
Man, what I have found, my bro, is like, as we go through this journey, we just become, rightly so, different versions of ourselves, and our voids and our things are different. So the thing is, man, like I would say for myself, potentially for you as well, what we resonate with are much more subtle things now. Because
Mm.
the in fact, the harsh, brash things are, it repels us because we just want these subtle refinements now. And we want to stay equanimous. Having said that, when people are starting out the journey, like I feel like one of the reasons we are able to be at this level now is because that stuff was the thing that forced the pendulum swing to get us out of that place, to get us
Mm.
this, and like one piece of advice I hear like online, that I just think people are absolutely full of shit about, is, they say that money won't make you happy, but it's so much easier to say that shit when you've got money. I'm maybe you disagree with me on this one, Kedge, which is all good, of course. Like for me, I'm just like, I can understand why people say money won't make you happy. I can. But at the same time, like, it's kind of bullshit as well, because it's like, if you are struggling to pay rent month to month, which I was, and you didn't have food in your cupboards and you didn't have food in the fridge, and you and your fiance were fucking starving every month, bro, money has irrefutably made me happier, you know? And I can also see though that if that's all you do, then no, it's not going to make you happy. in the same time, like there's a piece of advice. Sorry, Kedge, I know you're about to say something. Like there's a piece
No,
of
no.
advice like that people say, "Oh, what's a good pickup line for girls?" And then people say, "Just be cool, bro." Well, the thing is, it is true. You should just be cool. It is actually true. But the thing is, for someone at that level, just being cool, it doesn't work at that level. You have to go through the hero's journey to get to a point where you've acquired enough of these underlying skills that people don't want to talk about. For, for then, that advice of just being cool and letting go,
Mm.
then it clicks in nicely. So I think like as a coach, like it's about appreciating the full spectrum of someone's journey and the twists and turns they're required to make to get to the level, if that makes any sense, Kedge.
Bro, so much truth in what you said, and I'm just going to repeat just a couple of things that, yeah, 100%. So, like even the thing, like I said, even that line they said, money doesn't bring happiness, but it's like that sentence has got much more context. Like it depends on what context it was said in, right? So to your point, there's so much nuance and personal journey and stuff like that. And yeah, so I can't say if that statement's right or wrong because it depends on the context. It depends on where you are. If you're already making whatever good enough money to sustain your basics and more, and you're doing it from a certain place, I could say, yeah, that extra money is not going to bring you happiness. But then for a different version, yeah, that extra money may, you know what I mean? So there's context and nuance to it.
Amen.
So I I wouldn't go as far as saying the statement's bullshit, but I would say, bro, I need to know your situation to make the comment, you know? So
Yeah, amen.
yeah, so um there was something else that you said that I wanted to come back to, but it's gone, but it's all right. It'll come back later. Um
But I
well,
think
yeah,
I think we just tangent off a point that you were making, Kedge.
yeah, oh yeah. So initially, you asked for me, yeah, three best bits of advice. So yeah, that's one of them, and we tangent off the fact of yeah, and you're right. Oh, that's the one I want to touch on. So
Mm,
because I imagine most of the boys that you're coming to at that point in the journey, they're coming from a place where they need to be shaken up a bit and just need to snap out of it. So hence the extreme to shake it off and almost go from, if for example, if they are feeling depressed and flat or whatever, you're almost forcing them into this state here so that they can kind of come back.
correct.
Whereas not to whatever call it levels, but for me, because it's not as extreme anymore, it's more in the subtlety, then the extreme of that doesn't appeal to me anymore, and it's not or not needed for me anymore, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
rightly so,
yeah,
rightly
yeah,
so, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
for people watching, like a really great framework to keep in mind, in my opinion, and in my experience, has worked very well for people, is think of a pendulum, and you want to ask yourself on that pendulum, where am I in relation to what I might be struggling with? So if someone is depressed, right, that's one extreme swing of the pendulum. Whereas if someone is like, what would be the opposite of that pendulum? It would be someone who is hyper expressive to the point that they fucking burn themselves out. That would be the polar opposite, presumably. And then, the key to evolution is variation, but the key to up leveling is integration. So eventually, what you want to do, you don't, if you're super depressed, ideally, what you want to get to is this beautiful middle path where you're centered, you're grounded, you're confident, you're moving strong. But actually, in order to get to that middle path, it actually takes a strong pendulum swing to push you out of the depression and actually get you to own the other side, which is that extroverted side that actually just gets out there almost to the point that you probably will burn yourself out. But in you doing that and you go into that journey to really express and build that other foundation for yourself, because the depression, by the way, has its own benefits. It allows you to become more introspective, to go inward, to become more present, to become more still. You actually one of the reasons that I come across as so present to people is because I fucking spent so much time of my life being depressed in my early life. So it's just created so much inner stillness in me. And so when you swing hard the other way and you develop the muscle of being expressive, it allows you to develop the foundation that ultimately you do enough that it becomes diminishing returns and you're like, cool, I'm too expressive now. And that is actually what allows you to finally ascend because you've owned both sides. And then you can ascend to this integrated place. So I'm just saying that I don't know if that was too complicated for people to listen to, but that's what the journey looks like in any area, by the way.
Makes sense, but how, like, 'cause I guess in in simple language, like if I was going to say it, like how can I be integrated in the middle if I don't know what the other side looks like, right? I need to like how can I need to know what it is to be able to get there because if I don't even know what it is, like how can I do it? Like I need to feel it to come back,
Well
So
said. Well said. Yeah, and feel it.
yeah.
And I reckon people Cash don't even understand that what you just said because
Mm,
people just want to know it intellectually. A lot of people just want to know it intellectually.
mm,
But man, but but knowing something might be intellectual, but wisdom is experience. So
mm,
and feeling it is how you make it experiential.
mm.
So
Good
anyway,
stuff.
we're
Nah, bro.
deviating from your advice.
No, not even advice, but yeah, but it's good stuff, man. I think, and this is the probably the problem because I kind of can carry on with a point for too long, but it's just like it's this nuance that matters, and sometimes we might carry on a little bit, but bro, that's I can give you one line and walk away, but without the nuance, it means nothing, right? Um, yeah, man. So what do we touch on? So taking people off a pedestal, but the second one would be this, it would be what do we call it? Calibration, understanding the benefits of the drawbacks, and then choosing. Because everything has, as we touched on at the start of this episode, every choice you make in life or the life you want to live is going to have benefits and drawbacks. You want to start a business, bro. Benefits are yeah, blah blah blah, but the drawbacks are lack of time setting it up, exhausting. Everything's on your shoulder, responsibility, all the other things that come with it. You want to be in a good marriage, yeah, the benefits are, whatever, can be comforting, can be nice, home, but the drawbacks can be you need to put an effort here, you need to take, whatever. Like everything's got things. And so which life do you want to choose? Make that choice. Like to your thing, do some inner work, whether through someone like yourself or do it yourself and take the time to introspect and figure it out and choose and accept and that'll be one. And um yeah. Anything to add to that? You're looking at me like you want to say
No, I
something?
was very curious, sincerely, to hear what the third one might be. But just to elaborate for Kedge's sake on that second one, not that he didn't elaborate enough, but
Mm,
for those listening at home, um, I mean, I remember being with Kedge when I feel like he learned this lesson in a truly like real way about benefits and drawbacks. But basically, people like if you've been struggling with kind of shooting yourself really high, but then ending up burnt out, for want of a better word. Basically, like the feasts and famines and the ups and downs, like a yo-yo. It's basically because we've got one side on a pedestal and the other side we've undervalued, and so therefore we overdo one side and we underdo the other side. So specifically, I think it's okay if I use this example because I don't know anyone's actual name here. But I remember sitting with Kedge when we learned this lesson about benefits and drawbacks, and the way that we did it was, Kedge, I think at the time, and Kedge, you just interrupt me here. Kedge, I think at the time believed there was more benefits and drawbacks to being extroverted, and he believed being introverted was not as good as being extroverted. And so that's the trait, extroversion, that we were taking off a pedestal. And so effectively, when we were workshopping this, Kedge and I, um, we thought of an event where Kedge was introverted. And at the time, I think he was quite like regretful that he was introverted at that time. And then
mm,
we asked the question, okay, my bro, well, there's benefits and drawbacks in every situation, including there's benefits and drawbacks equally of being introverted, right? It's not just drawbacks of being
mm,
introverted, but there's benefits of being introverted. And at the time, Kedge was like, oh, I don't really see them. And that's why we did this activity. And so then Kedge thought of this specific time where he was being introverted, and we asked him what the benefits were. And unless you want to speak to this, Kedge, like
yeah, happy to. And and I think the language nuance difference as well. At the time, the word I was using was depressed, down, whatever. But like, really, yeah, introvert. Yeah, but anyway, that's the word language I was using, and I was like, oh, like what benefit is there to being depressed and down and fucking sad? But yeah, like the situation, and man, power to you that you remember this, man, because it's very specific, and we, it would have been one time in our history that we probably spoke about this. But yeah, man, it's like we're in a group of four close friends, and then just like one particular person would have like they had something to share and started talking, and I can imagine in another time where I was in not in my depressed state, I would have jumped in, giving advice, telling them what to do, doing whatever, and that person would have retreated and just like not finished what they had to say. But because I was quiet, depressed, or whatever you want to call it, I just, yeah, it just was, I didn't really say anything. But then that allowed that person to share, and it was going through a pretty dark time and got to share it all out. And yeah, and then I guess and then that for that person was then ended up becoming life-changing because that's something he wouldn't have been able to, as some guys aren't very good at sharing with their friends and all that stuff. And that probably would have never came out. And because of that, it did, and a lot of benefits came from that, for our friendships and for themselves personally. And but that is like, but even I couldn't see that at that time. I had to really put myself back in my shoes at that time, really try and think about. I don't even know how that example would have even come into my head at that time. It would have been a lot of a lot of work to try and go back and just think of them. But yeah, man, like that. So, which then taught me the lessons of, and then as I was doing that, then I found more and more situations like that. And then, as you alluded to, some of the benefits of being that, and I think we changed the wording as more high energy, low energy states, but in that low energy state, better listener, slower, and other things which are also very important. And yeah, and then yeah, correct. So that's pretty much the story. So
And it is so beautiful, and I really hope that landed for people like listening at home, because the thing is, like, what that gives you is it gives you like versatility and range, and it gives you, instead of just having one tool in your arsenal, which is that you just jump in extroverted and try to save the day all the time. When you lose the charge or the infatuation on being extroverted in this example, and Kedge realized that, hey, being extroverted has benefits and drawbacks, and actually being introverted or being high energy has benefits and drawbacks, and being low energy or introverted has benefits and drawbacks. When you lose the charge, it allows you to freely move between one or the other, and that gives you a lot more range and versatility and fucking power as to what you can do, and can you imagine if the only hammer in your toolbox was to just jump in and be extroverted every time you have a sales call, you know?
mm,
But now, because you learn this skill, you learn that there's equal benefits and drawbacks to being low energy or introverted. Then on that sales call, at a whim, you're able to switch to just listening more and actually just being attentive and just shutting up. And sometimes that's exactly what you need to do on a sales call, to just give the person the space to convince themselves that they need something. So that's the power of this concept of like the fact that, and this concept is so deep, because you can apply this to like a one trait like that we're talking about now, or you can apply this, as we said, to just debunking feeling depressed, or you can, if you've been stuck in your dating life, and you never seem to be able to get find the one that you're after. It's probably because you've got a whole bunch of traits on the pedestal you're infatuated with, and you're probably judging a whole bunch of other traits. But your dream woman, the thing is, she's a human like anything else in nature. So she is, and so just like everything else in nature, she has equal benefits and drawbacks, and every trait of hers has equal benefits and drawbacks. So, so this is the real key to unlocking so much of life, actually. So,
yeah,
kids,
no,
we're ad libbing
100%.
on your thing, but yeah.
No, no, it's good, man. And it's like I'm actually, and I'd love for feedback from people listening to share some stuff because I know when you first told me this stuff, for me, not that I thought it was bullshit, but it was just like I was like, what are you saying, bro? It's like, what are you saying? It doesn't make sense. And it took a lot of work to act, but once I got it, And so I'm actually curious. So if people are listening and get listen this far and getting some level of yeah, please they jump in, ask questions because it's a very nuanced topic, and I would be even interested to hear if this is even landing because yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
to put it into context, thank you, Kedge, because to put into context, everyone, like at the very beginning of this conversation, I think, or towards the beginning, Kedge asked me, Dim, what do you teach these boys in these retreats? Um, One being purpose, which we spoke about. The second one is really, I said, internal alignment. It's effectively just healing your own shit, doing the inner work inside, getting out of your own fucking way is what it is. And one example of when on where we are in our own way is with our beliefs, or what we call limiting beliefs. We have beliefs, perceptions, infatuations, resentments on shit that we don't even realize that we have. And the thing is that just, if you want to know what the fucking matrix is, the matrix is the matrix you create in your own mind based on things that you prefer and don't prefer, and judgments and resentments and infatuations and beliefs and limiting beliefs and false beliefs. That's your fucking matrix. That's your cage, you know? And sometimes when we hit rock bottom, it forces us to just let everything go and just reset. And it actually creates this new chapter as a result. So I mean, the third being community, which is relatively self-explanatory. If you're around people that have actually done what you're trying to do, it changes your perception ultimately of what's possible, and it makes it a lot easier for you to be consistent. But to Kedge's point, yeah, I think we would both love any questions on it, because then we can take this out of the conversation and make it real to help people in their life.
Yeah, nah, for sure, man. And I only just keep repeating that because I just know where I was when I first heard it, and it just did not make sense to me, you know. So that's yeah. But as we were doing that, I was also like being present, but I was thinking about what's the third bit of advice or third best advice I've got, or whatever. Whatever, can't remember the question now, but whatever it was. But I think the third one for me, and once again, I'm gonna link it to a drawback in a second, but just honestly, just like invest in yourself, invest in your education, invest in like the bit between here, like and people hear that stuff, and I'm keen to get into the nuance and before we wrap up, but the invest in here, like no one can take that away. Because man, you can do whatever, lose a business, relationship can fall apart, start from zero again. But once you've done it once and you know the tools, you can always go back and just go back and do it. Um, and yeah, and once again, my journey is different to others, but like I've got to where I am. I invested in a property education course. So it was 10 grand. I didn't have the 10 grand. Paid it off monthly. Invested in personal development when I didn't have much money, and did a lot of self education. And then once I found, and obviously then came and did the work with you, and then I felt like I found my person, like, and did it the first time, someone that gets me, and then I felt like cool. I'm going to continue with this person. They know my story now. They know the details, and when I need it, I can, you know. And I felt like, and I feel like for me, all that was just life changing. And now I've got the tools, bro. External shit's going to happen. There's going to be stuff that's happened in my life that I didn't expect, and you don't have to go into that right now. And it has happened, and it will continue to happen. But when you've got the tools and the understanding, where you bounce back faster, you can navigate things, improve your relationships, and whatever. Just keep going. Um, so, and then, yeah, I think that's it. And that's, but yeah, I think most people sit in the bucket of underinvesting on this stuff. So that's why I'm giving that. But but on the drawback, don't over index and just go and do everything and get paralyzed with information. But I'm almost like resisting saying that because most people are probably underinvesting in it anyway. So, because for me, I felt like I got to a point where I was overinvesting in it. And so at the point, I kind of just like, cool, I'm just going to go live it now and experience life and do it. But I'm just going to shut that part of the conversation off for a second because I feel like most people do underinvest. So yeah, whether it's you or whether it's something else or whether they do it yourself or just like yeah, I think that's probably the third one, you know?
That's really nice. And if I may say something practical to help someone really understand, I think, to add what Kedge is
Yeah.
saying there, let's say for someone who's listening, let's say you want to make $1 million a year, let's say hypothetically, right? Just to use an example. And now you could maybe that's $1 million a year financially, or maybe you want to have $1 million body this year, or maybe you want to have $1 million relationship this year, or $1 million health this year, right? So it doesn't have to just be about money. Now, let's say that's what you want, and let's say currently you make $100,000 a year. So realize it's actually your lack of knowledge, your lack of know-how is costing you $900,000 a year right now, right? Because you don't fucking know how to do it. It's costing you are paying $900,000 this year because you haven't fucking figured out how to do it. Because the thing is, as Kez just said, if someone takes it all away from you and all of that stuff, um, the thing is, no one can take away your mind, and no one can take away like your wisdom. So a lot of people, God bless their cotton socks. And I think these people are not destined really to be wealthy, and that's okay as well. Like, because it's about what you want, really, at the end of the day. Man, I think one thing I'm so grateful for is I've had an investment mentality. Like it's not about cost, it's about ROI. The full equation is about the full equation. Cost is just one side of an equation. So for example, my first property that I ever bought, the buyer's agent at that time, this is a long time ago now, charged me $10,000 and I was 25. So $10,000 at 25 was like a lot of money for me. And I remember he was just like, dude, just put it on a credit card, and then balance transfer the credit card and pay it off over 24 months. Like I remember he said this to me, right? And I don't know, somehow my 25-year-old self was just like, it saw, I think it's because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that's where I learned it. But it was never about the $10,000 that I spent for that buyer's agent. It was like, this total amount of money that I'm putting into this property, how much do I believe it's going to make me in 10 years? So therefore you're completing the equation, because if you're just think because that first property purchase, I believe, was 80 grand all up, because it was just this little property. It was 217 grand for that property, in total. So when you took it account the deposit and everything, I think it was like 80 grand. So 80 grand without context sounds like a fuckload of money. But bro, that property has made me like I think 400 grand in equity at least. But then that property, because there was so much equity in it, we bought other properties and it unlocked so much. So really I turned 80 grand. It's about, what are you going to turn this money into?
Mm.
So if you want to know, in my view, I'm pretty sure I learned this in Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book. But like a secret to getting rich is to have an investment mentality, to look at the whole equation, which is what is this input going to give me? Not just monetary input, by the way. Me
Yeah.
inputting into this person's friendship. What is this going to give me? Me going into this environment. What's it going to give me? Because if it's going to give you a shitty ROI, then that's your own fucking fault in a way. Kej, you want to say
Yeah,
something?
man. No, so I think you pretty much said the point I was gonna say, because I think like, I'm lucky in the with what I do in property and stuff, because it's very logical, and it's like you're spending this, what you just said there, and you can kind of forecast, I'm gonna spend this, I'm gonna get this, and people can calculate the ROI. It's easier to calculate, right? But when it comes to the other stuff, like, your skills, your personal development, your friendships, your relationships, like to actually then quantify it, it's bro, obviously yeah, what barometer are you using, right? So that's the stuff that people, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on how can people use their logical brain to quantify the value of the things that aren't, I guess, tangible, like, I guess, like money.
Well, you know what, man? I think it is a bit harder, isn't it? But I think that's what makes it all the more special. And that's why it makes it all the more special. The people that do it, who do so well as a result, that's why it's so special that they've done so well, because so few people will do the hard thing of I guess eventually at some level there's a tiny bit of a leap of faith and a trust in your own intuition that this thing will
Mm,
help me.
yeah.
If I was to strip away the marketing shit and just say it as it is, like I think there's a surely a piece of it which is a leap of faith and trust
Mm,
that I
mm,
believe it's going to help me. You know, but I think one thing that helps is like, people can't really pay for value that they can't see. And the
mm,
thing is like, I think, Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. And so if you actually study the most successful people, like they have learned this shit. Like what Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett, the richest man in the world, like I think because if you look at Elon Musk and some of those other boys, they're rich in terms of like if you look at the stock price, but if you actually look at cash held, I think Warren Buffett still remains the richest man in the world. And Tony Robbins was.
I want to say something. I want to say something. Only because I want to keep looking at that because it's good. I want to say something. So once again, like you're like, oh, what's this guy gonna say? He's putting his hand up. Like this must be something. But see, the bit that's hard, and this is what I want to say, because when you're modeling and you're seeing these people, once again, right? Financial wealth, right? Because I'm gonna say something right now, and I said it on a previous episode of time, bro. I personally, I feel like I'm one of the fucking richest motherfuckers on this earth, right? And that's not, and not because I'm doing all right money wise, right? But man, I keep saying that I don't need anything more. I'm like I keep saying, rich, like family, friends, like health. I'm sure I can be healthier, but yeah, health is good enough, and I'm satisfied. And financially, doing a business that I want to be building it the people that I want to be building it with, but like. I'm fuck. I reckon I'm in the top. I'm one of the richest people, and I'm saying I just want to echo that point again because it's important for people to hear. I feel like, as in, because once again, you can rip off these names like Warren Buffett and whatever, and important. These guys are doing it great, but man, that's just like we're doing this pod. Me and you are doing it too, and the reason we're living fucking rich lives is because we've done this stuff, and we know other people that are doing it too. And I feel like the people that are listening to us, and you might want to say it. I want them to live like this. This is the kind of richness that I want them to feel. Like, but Warren Buffett, whatever, as in maybe someone that's listening to this or people that someone might become like him one day, but that's not the level of, I think we're on a different path of richness. And
Amen.
like, and yeah, I just wanted to just jump in and just say that because man, it's attainable, because I guess when you use things like Warren Buffett, it also can feel unattainable too, right? But it's
Yeah.
actually attainable for the everyday person, and we're just everyday people, man. And I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, amen. I feel like what I'm saying is in line with what you just said then.
Yeah.
So, Uncle Warren,
Yeah.
T Tony Robbins asked him, "Bro, what was the best investment that you ever made? Was it Coca-Cola? Was it this company? Was it that company?" And then Uncle Warren was like, "Actually, Tony, it's what you do." I remember he's like, when I was t like 20, I went to a Dale Carnegie course,
Mm.
and I learned to work on myself and my communication skills and how I understood myself and how I communicate myself with others. So even Uncle Warren said that the best investment is investing in you. Yeah, there's all these different levels you can get to, and it's all an illusion anyway. Like whether it's like whether you have 1 million or 10 million or 20 million, ultimately you're still dealing with support and challenge in your life and benefits and drawbacks in your life. That's why I really feel like it for me, those first principles of like doing something that you love and that is meaningful with your life and doing your very best to being your own best friend as opposed to being your own worst enemy as much as possible, and being around good people. I feel like to me personally, to me those are the foundations for a rich life, in my opinion. So what I think we're all
Yeah,
we're over time, but
yeah, yeah. Nah, it's good.
what a little chat.
That was good, bro. It was needed, as in, like, didn't it would have been wrong to stop it on the hour because there was like I felt like there was some gold right at the end. So,
Yeah.
so
Any final words from you, Kedge?
but nah, I feel like enough said. And once again, like, yeah, like just echoing that point, just go build that richness in your life. That's what this is about, all areas, and that's what we're talking about. And yeah, please, like, listen, like, yeah, like, don't just drop comments, message us privately if you feel shy to do that. Like, I'm just genuinely passionate about this stuff, and like, the more I'm talking about it, it's just like same way Dim said before, property gravitates. I feel good, but even this, I'm tired. Honestly, I'm so tired. But I'm talking about this stuff, I'm feeling lit up again, and so like, it's just yeah. So please reach out and more than happy just to bounce ideas and thoughts and whatever.
Amen. Amen. I won't extra outro any more than that. I think that was beautiful. So if everyone listening, thank you. Please do share this with your friends if you're getting value. Please do message us, as Kez just said. And we will see you next week at the latest. Okay. Bye.